न सद्वासद्यदपि परमं वेदवातन्न वेद यत् सत्यं तन्न खलु कुशलैश्छिद्यते तर्कबाणैः द्वैताद्वैतात्यखिलमतिभिर्यत्पदं सेव्यते तत् वन्दे चेतो विलयनिलयं शारदापादपद्मम् साङ्ख्यं योगं पशुपतिमतं वैष्णवं वा यथेच्छं चार्वाकं वा भवतु हृदयाह्लादकं सज्जनानां यत् सत्यं तत् प्रमितिपथगं स्वप्रकाशं वरेण्यं दद्याच्छौख्यं जगति सकलं दर्शनं शारदाया.
Good morning and good evening to everybody. Welcome to the 7th talk in the Vimarsha Foundation's Hindu Studies lecture series, exploring art, sciences, philosophy in a contemporary global light. I'd like to ask everybody to please type your questions into the chat box, and we'll call on you at the end to read out your question and ask. So feel free to put your questions in there, and then we'll call on you at the end. Today, we're honored to welcome Professor Nirmalya Chakraborty, and I turn it over to Professor Staniswar Timosina to introduce him. Thank you very much.
Namaskara. Dr. Nirmalya Chakraborty is Vice-Chancellor of Presidency University, Kolkata. He is the former Member Secretary of the Indian Council of Philosophical Research, New Delhi. He has published broadly on philosophical logic. His research areas include classical Indian and Western analytical philosophy of language, epistemology, philosophy of religion, and environmental ethics. Some of his recent publications include articles on Rabindranath Tagore on being moral, Swaraj in philosophy, realism, anti-realism, and quietism, and other topics such as on the very idea of the authority of the Vedas. Another on unity, universality, and pluralism in the thoughts of Swami Vivekananda. And interestingly, the ethics of deceit in Mahabharata. Recently, he has edited Exploring the Realm of the Mental, the Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Kolkata in 2024. Thank you, Professor, for being here with us.
Namaskar. Namaskar. So can you hear me? Okay, good. So let me start by extending my sincere thanks to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share some of my ideas with you all. And I also extend my thanks to all the viewers, participants who have joined the lecture today. It is now evening in India. So perhaps this is morning there in States. So anyway, good evening and good morning to everybody. So what I have decided to speak on today is to give you some glimpse of the discourse on language as one finds in some of the early classical Indian texts. I am trained in Western Anglo-American analytical tradition. At the same time, I am also exposed to some of the classical Sanskrit texts. So I hope you can see that in my presentation, ideas belonging to both the traditions will come up, and I have tried to arrange them in my own way. So let me start with this point. that as I can see, discourse on language in classical Indian thought, proceeded in two different paths. One could be called the path to metaphysics, and the second could be called the path to epistemology. Now, today I shall confine my talk to this metaphysical path, because this is also a very important area where classical Indian philosophers contributed, significantly. Although it is undeniable that when people talk about Shabda Pramana, which is basically which basically falls within the epistemological debates in classical Indian philosophical systems. But still, today I shall be more interested in sharing my understanding of what I call the path to metaphysics through language. Now, one of the earliest reference to language and the Sanskrit word that has been used, sometimes shabda, sometimes vak. Now, one of the earliest references that one finds, talking about shabda, is the first mandala of Rig Veda, where there is a prayer to Marut Devata, the god of air, and it is said in those mantras that it is Marut which actually creates sound, creates shabda when it travels to different directions. Okay, this is more a physicalistic idea of the origin of shabda. Okay, but a more significant, I think, reference to shabda, to vak, could be found in the 10th mandala of Rig Veda, where there is a sukta which sometimes is popularly called Devi Sukta. When we recite Chandi. Chandi is one of the most important texts in the Shakta tradition. We start reciting the Chandi with the recitation of this Devi Sukta. Now, this Devi Sukta is very interesting. This is a sukta which is kind of expression of realization of a sage known as Vak. Now, this Vak sage is a lady. It's called Vak Devi. Now, this Vak Devi, as the story goes, is the daughter of a sage called Ambrin. So this Vak Devi, expressing her realization about the identity of herself and the ultimate reality or Brahman. And there, in that sukta, there's a long, description how Vak is the ultimate reality of the world. How Vak controls everything in the world. How Vak determines, the day, the night, the movement of the stars, etc., etc. So this omnipotence of Vak, this presence of Vak has been described eloquently in this sukta in Rig Veda. Another interesting, reference to Shabda could be found in Brihadaranya Upanishad. Now, in the Brihadaranya Upanishad, the first chapter of Brihadaranya Upanishad, where how the creation started, these things are described. At one point, it has been said that when the Prajapati, okay, started creating this world in a specific order, at one point he created a baby, a human baby, and he thought that he will eat up this human baby in order to nourish himself, in order to survive. And when this human baby somehow got to know that he will be eaten up by this Prajapati, he got so scared. Out of this feeling of fear, Shabda originated. So the first Shabda, according to this particular, mantra of Brihadaranya, the first Shabda is Bhana. So Bhana here in this context means, oh my God, something like that I am going to be eaten up. So out of this fear, okay, out of this of fear for life, Shabda originated. So these are some of the early references to Vak or Shabda that one finds in the classical texts. And of course, in Chandi, there are references to the Devi, to the goddess, who is Ardhamatra Sthita Nitya. So matra, we have different matras in classical Sanskrit. These are all concerned with how to pronounce a particular word which can express a determinate meaning. Okay, so Ardhamatra Sthita Nitya. So all these are the references to something, to some ideas associated with Vak, with Shabda, with pronunciation, with word, etc. And of course, in a poetic form, later on, Kalidasa starts one of his famous, big poems with this, shloka, Vagarthaviva Samprikto Vagartha Pratipattaye Jagata Pitaro Vande Parvati Parameshwaru. So the relation between Parvati and Parameshwar is like the relation between Vak and Artha. Okay, they are always related to each other. So these are some of the places in classical Sanskrit texts where one finds allusion to some linguistic categories. Today I would specifically like to speak on Patanjali. Patanjali wrote a long commentary on Panini's sutras. Panini's text is known as Ashtadhyayi. Now, the reason I would like to draw your attention to Patanjali is, this is for the first time, perhaps, we have a very nice, example of philosophy of meaning, to use the contemporary expression, or rather a theory of meaning. So in Patanjali's Mahabhashya, especially the introductory part of this Mahabhashya, which is known as Paspasha, okay, in this introduction known as Paspasha, Patanjali raises the question, what is a word? Ka shabdaha. What is the nature of word? This is one of the fundamental questions that Patanjali raises, and Patanjali proposes few possible answers to this question, and all these answers have some problems according to Patanjali, and then Patanjali proposes his own answer to this question, where he introduces the famous idea of spota. So, and another very interesting point in this context is Patanjali, while discussing the nature of word, he starts his analysis by talking about the necessity of grammar. Okay, why should one undertake the study of grammar? The prayojana of Vyakarana is one of the very interesting issues that Patanjali refers to. So let us start Patanjali's analysis, Patanjali's presentation little more closely. So Patanjali in his Mahabhashya begins his discussion with a detailed analysis of the purpose and necessity of grammar, prayojana of Vyakarana. And in this context, he talks about the nature of the word, ka shabdaha. Since for Patanjali, grammar deals with the word, a discussion about the purpose of grammar requires knowledge of the nature of the word and the nature of our knowledge of it. So nature of the word and nature of our knowledge of the word. The subject that deals with the laws of the word is called grammar or Vyakarana. Patanjali uses the word Shabdanushasana. So Shabdanam Anushasana, laws of word. In Indian intellectual tradition, it is a common convention that at the beginning of any discussion, one mentions, the author especially, mentions 4 dispositional factors, which are called anubandhas, the knowledge of which would incline an intelligent person to undertake a study of the topic under discussion. Dispositional factors, anubandhas, do not directly form the core of the discussion to be undertaken, but nevertheless, they give some idea of the subject matter to be analyzed. The importance of the dispositional factor lies in motivating the reader to join the discourse. They are sort of psychological booster dose to the reader. So reader, if he knows these 4 anubandhas, he would be inclined to undertake a detailed study of the subject that is to be discussed in the text. There are 4 such dispositional factors. There are 4 anubandhas. First, eligibility, adhikari. Second, content, vishaya. Third, relation, sambandha. And 4, necessity or prayojana. So these are the 4 anubandhas. The person who wants to undertake the study of the text must possess the eligibility to do so, right? A person who is worthy of undertaking the study of the topic under scrutiny is an eligible person, adhikari, for studying that topic. Whatever is proved in a discussion is the content or vishaya of that discussion. Relation in the present context, sambandha, in the present context denotes the relation between the content and the discipline subject in which the study takes place. Necessity or prayojana is the result of studying the relevant discipline. Any reasonable person, before being disposed to do something, not only to undertake a study of the text, but to do anything, to perform any action, he or she must possess the knowledge, I am capable of doing this. In Sanskrit terminology, this is called kriti sadhyata jnana. So I have the ability to do this. Unless one knows that one is able to perform an action, he would not have any disposition to accomplish that act. When one knows that one has the required eligibility, one is adhikari to perform the act, then he has the knowledge that with his effort, he can perform the task. So the knowledge of the eligibility, the knowledge of adhikara, produces the knowledge of kriti sadhyata. And unless one has the knowledge of kriti sadhyata, one would not have any disposition to undertake the study. Now let us discuss a little bit more about the necessity, prayojana, of the discipline called grammar or vyakarana. The prayojana of vyakarana. Patanjali uses the word shabdanushasana, which can be understood as anushasana of shabda. Shabdanam anushasana. Shabda means word. And we will shortly discuss in greater detail what is this word. Anushasana means governing laws. Grammar is defined as a study of the laws of the word. Shabdanushasana. It is the study of grammar that enables us to have the knowledge of a well-formed word, sadhu shabda, as different from an ill-formed or incorrect word, asadhu shabda. The laws that grammar talks about are the laws pertaining to the word. The word law, anushasana, could be understood in two different ways. When we speak of the laws of morals, for example, we mean certain rules of conduct that we ought to obey, but not that these laws are always obeyed by everybody in actual behavior. Human behavior is not always in conformity with these moral laws. But when we talk about the laws of nature, we mean certain generalizations of natural phenomena. And the occurrences of the natural phenomena are always in conformity with these natural laws. The former can be called prescriptive laws, while the latter can be called descriptive laws. In which of these senses can we talk of the laws of the word, laws of grammar, for example? In one sense, we can talk about laws of word as proposed by Patanjali as generalizations of our linguistic use. From Patanjali's allusion to several examples from ordinary and Vedic contexts, it is clear that he thinks of the laws of the word, Shabdanushasana, as the laws that we follow in our linguistic behavior. Grammar tries to collect or extract the regularities that are found in using language. Viewed in this way, our linguistic use is always in conformity with the laws of grammar. Thus, the laws of the word, Shabdanushasana, could be viewed as unearthing, exploring the laws in accordance with which we, though directly unaware of those laws, partake in linguistic behavior. Thus, grammar is not a language manual. We do not learn laws of grammar before we learn a language. We come to grasp the laws while learning the language. As we get exposed to a language, we gradually determine the laws governing the uses of the words by observing the behavior of the native user of that language. But then the laws of the word, the subject matter of grammar, could also be said to have a prescriptive value, since the knowledge of grammar ultimately leads to liberation or moksha. And this is, I think, something very unique to Indian concept of Vyakarana. And this has been, elaborately explained by a later day grammarian philosopher called Bhartrihari. He specifically talks about grammar as moksha dwara, apavarga dwara, the door to moksha. Okay, but anyway, so since the knowledge of grammar ultimately leads to liberation, the message contained in the Mahabhashya is that if one wants to attain liberation, then one must possess the knowledge of the laws of the world. So Shabdanushasana, knowledge of Shabdanushasana leads to liberation. So for every person desiring to attain liberation, knowledge of grammar is a must. The laws of the world have got a prescriptive force in the sense that one ought to know these laws if one wants to attain liberation. Now, the learned persons, the Brahmins in those days, were supposed to study and acquire the knowledge of the Vedas along with the 6 auxiliary subjects without any ulterior motive. Nishkarano sharango vedo adhyetavya. There are 6 auxiliary disciplines. There are 6 Vedangas that one needs to study. These 6 Vedangas are Shiksha, Kalpa, Nirukta, Vyakarana, Jyotish, and Chanda. Shiksha deals with the rules of pronunciation, aiming at correct pronunciation of the Vedic mantras. It is only when the mantras are correctly pronounced that they produce the desired results. Panini, Yajnavalkya, etc. have written on Shiksha rules of pronunciation that are valid for specific Vedas. Here we find discussion of rules of pronunciation of different letters, varnas, specific to different Vedas. There are other works on Shiksha where the Shiksha rules that are described are valid for the specific Vedas. Thus, in the works of Shaunaka, Katyayana, etc., we find discussion of Shiksha rules, some of which are meant for one Veda and some others meant for other Vedas. These are known as Pratishakya. In the Kalpa part, the second Vedanga, we find a systematic analysis of the significance of the mantras taken from the Brahmana part of the Vedas, following Mimamsa hermeneutics and description of the performance of the Vedic sacrifices with the help of those mantras. Vyakarana, the third Vedanga, as we have seen just now, analyzes the well-formed words into stem and suffix. So Vyakarana, the task of Vyakarana is to analyze every sadhu shabda into stem and suffix, the basic elements, basic components of a word. There is clear evidence that study of Vyakarana started since Vedic period and well before. Panini Nirukta is an appendix to grammar. In grammar, some words are introduced but not analyzed, nor was any formation rule proposed for those words. These are taken up in Nirukta. So after Vyakarana comes Nirukta. Knowledge of Nirukta completes the knowledge of grammar. In Jyotish, the other Vedanga, we find a study of determination of time, Kala Nirnaya, for studying the Vedas and performance of Vedic rituals. In Chanda, the sixth Vedanga, we find a discussion of the formation rules of mantras in the form of poetry. Mantras in the form of poetry are called rik. Mantras in the forms of prose are called yaju. The mantras that are different from rik and yaju in nature are sung, and so they are called sama. Now, as we have just mentioned, one acquires dharma if one uses the well-formed words, sadhu shabda, following the knowledge of the analytical method of grammar. So the study of grammar leads to gaining dharma. From using the word shabdanushasana, the word that Patanjali himself uses, one can understand that the necessity of grammar, the prayojana of grammar, is knowledge of well-formed words, sadhu shabda. So it is the word that is the subject matter of grammar. The knowledge of the word, the knowledge of sadhu shabda, is the direct necessity or direct prayojana of studying grammar. Thus, we can see that the necessity of grammar is knowledge of the word, and the subject matter of grammar is word, sadhu shabda. Though knowledge of the word is the direct necessity or direct prayojana of grammar, the ultimate prayojana of grammar is dharma and moksha. So the real necessity, the real prayojana of grammar is the cessation of suffering. Knowledge of the word itself is not pleasure or cessation of pain, but knowledge of the word is the method of attaining pleasure or cessation of pain. Thus, according to a later grammarian philosopher Nagesha Bhatta, virtue, dharma, and liberation, mukti, are the prayojana of grammar. Study of grammar leads to a knowledge of the word that amounts to knowing the meaning of the word. This leads to the knowledge of the Vedas. The knowledge of the meaning of the Vedas helps one in uttering the mantras correctly, which enables one to perform the Vedic rituals properly, and this produces virtue or dharma. Acquiring virtue or dharma leads to heavenly pleasure. Swarga, Sukha. From the knowledge of grammar, when one acquires the knowledge of the meaning of the word, one also acquires the meaning of the Upanishads, which leads to the knowledge of Brahman. One could also claim that by the knowledge of grammar, one attains the knowledge of Shabda Brahman, the one that Bhartrihari talks about in great detail in his Vakapadiya, leading to liberation. So even if the knowledge of the word is the direct prayojana of grammar, the indirect result of the study of Vyakarana is dharma and moksha. While addressing the Nimnadhikari, the lower level eligible persons, Patanjali talks about the knowledge of meaning as being the necessity of the study of grammar, and this would this would inspire people to study grammar. One must also note that if an author or a speaker gives some hint about what is coming in the discussion of the speech or in the text, then it is possible for the reader or hearer to pay attention to the content of the discussion. This statement of the topic by the author or the speaker at the very beginning of the discussion is called the promise, pratijna. Without this promise, without this pratijna, the reader or the hearer is not likely to be attentive to the ensuing discussion. And as a result, the presentation of the author or the speaker would be futile. The author of Mahabhashya expresses his promise or pratijna in the sentence Atha Shabdanushasanam. This is the first sentence of Mahabhashya. Atha Shabdanushasanam. That means Patanjali here is going to talk about the laws of the world. Thus, this first sentence suggests the content and prayojana of grammar as well as the promise that is the cause of the attention of the reader or hearer. Now, the word atha shabdanushasanam, in this expression, the word atha also serves the role of invocation, mangalacharana. Even though Patanjali does not give any invocation verse at the beginning, he himself has talked about the importance of an invocation verse in Mahabhashya. So it is not that he is opposed to composing an invocation verse at the beginning of the text. He treats the utterance of the word atha as implying invocation. Atha, the word atha, in one of its senses, stands for invocation or mangala. After deciding that grammar is the study of the laws of the word, Shabdanam Anushasanam, the question arises as to which words grammar studies. Grammar does not talk about any and every sound, like sound of birds, horses, and drums. Even humans also can make sounds that do not fall within the scope of grammar. Patanjali thinks that grammar deals with two kinds of words. One is Laukika Shabda, ordinary words. The second is Vaidika Shabda, the Vedic words. Laukika means that which is known or used by the people. One must, of course, remember here that only well-formed or sadhu shabda are meant here. So even if people use many ill-formed words, apashabda, asadhu shabda, they are not being taken into account. So according to Patanjali, grammar does not contain any discussion of asadhu shabda. While explaining the meaning of Shabdanushasana, laws of the word, it has already been stated that grammar deals only with well-formed words, Sadhu Shabda. Obviously, the Vedic words are those that are used only in the Vedas. So, insofar as Patanjali's idea of Vyakarana is concerned, Vyakarana deals with both Laukika Shabda and Vaidika Shabda, but these Laukika and Vaidika Shabdas are Sadhu Shabda, the ill-formed words. Sorry, the well-formed words. One could ask here, given the self-veridical nature and importance of the Vedic sentences, why does not Patanjali mention the example of the Vedic words first? Remember, if you go through the text, you will see that when Patanjali talks about Vyakarana dealing with Sadhu Shabda, he talks about Laukika Shabda first, and then he talks about the Vaidika Shabda. So the question that one could raise here is, why does not Patanjali mention the example of the Vedic words first? Why in the order, why does Patanjali talk about Laukika Shabda first and then Vaidika Shabda? Since ordinary words are always used by the people, they are well known to us, they come to us first when you think of words. It is due to our close acquaintance with the ordinary words, Laukika Shabda, that Patanjali mentions the example of ordinary words first. In ordinary Sanskrit language, the order of the words, the krama of the words in a sentence is not important. You know, this is a very unique, to the composition of Sanskrit sentences. Gaurasti, there is a cow. Asti Gau, also meaning there is a cow. Both are well-formed expressions. Because of the flexibility of the order of the words in a sentence, Patanjali mentions words as examples of ordinary words. He does not mention sentences. The first example of an ordinary word, Laukika Shabda, that Patanjali gives is Gau, cow. The word Gau suggests something auspicious, and it also has different meanings. Thus, one could treat an ordinary Sanskrit sentence as Shabda. But in case of Vedic sentences, the order of the words is of crucial importance. So this is one, insofar as grammatical rules are concerned, this is an important distinction between Laukika Vakya and Vaidika Vakya. In Laukika Vakya, the order of the words is not important. Go asti, asti go, both are admissible. But insofar as Vedic sentences are concerned, the order of the words in a Vedic sentence is fixed. With the change of the order of the words, a Vedic sentence ceases to be a Vedic sentence. It can't be treated as a Vedic sentence anymore if you change the order of the words in a Vedic sentence. Vedic sentences have a fixed order of words. This is why, while giving examples of Vedic words, Patanjali mentions Vedic sentences, not individual words. Vedic sentences having a fixed word order. This also implies that the utterance of the Vedic sentences following the order that has been maintained in the teacher-student transition, the Guru-Shishya Parampara, following the exact method of pronunciation, is important for maintaining the Vedic nature of the Vedic sentences. So this implies that if you change the order of the words in a Vedic sentence, it is not any longer treated as a Vedic sentence. And As a result of this, it loses the veridical nature of a Vedic sentence. It is interesting to note that Patanjali mentions as examples of Vedic sentences, Shanno Devi Ravishtaye, etc., that constitute the mantra part of the Vedas. The examples of Vedic sentences that Patanjali gives are taken from the mantra part of the Vedas. He has not given any example from the Brahmana part of the Vedas. Normally, we know that Vedas consist of these two parts, mantra brahmanayor Veda, mantra and Brahman. Patanjali, when gives examples of Vedic sentences, he always gives example from the mantra part of the Vedas. But Patanjali himself accepts both mantra and Brahmana as part of the Vedas. According to Patanjali, Vedas were revealed to different sages, the rishis. They are called mantra drashta. They are said to have seen or perceived the mantras. It could be that mantras were revealed first and then came the Brahmana. Vedic rituals are performed by uttering mantras, and Brahmana sentences are never uttered there. Thus, the mantras occupy central place in the Vedic ritualistic framework. Brahmana sentences are explanations of the mantras, and so they are parasitical on the mantras. Hence, Patanjali has given the examples from the mantra part of the Vedas. Moreover, even if people hold that Vedas lack any human authorship or Paurusheya, it is the mantra part that is revealed to humans first, and then the Brahmana part got manifest. Both in terms of temporal sequence and primacy in performance of the Vedic rituals, the mantra sentences have been given as examples of Vedic sentences by Patanjali. Normally, when we talk of the Vedas, we talk of the four Vedas in this order: Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. In various Upanishads, we find the mention of the four Vedas in this order. Notice the order: Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. Patanjali, disregarding this order, has given examples of Vedic sentences taken from Atharva, Yajur, Rig, and Sama. So Patanjali, has changed the order. The traditionally accepted order of mentioning the four Vedas is Rig, Yajur, Sama, and Atharva. But Patanjali has changed the order when he talks about the Vedic sentences as examples of Shabda. He uses the order Atharva, Yajur, Rig, and Sama. One could ask about the justification of this new order mentioned by Patanjali. One could ask why does Patanjali change the traditionally accepted order of mentioning the four Vedas? According to grammarians, mantras are used in performing Vedic sacrifices, yajna. This sacrifice, this yajna, is of two kinds: Shrauta yajna and Smarta yajna. It is very difficult and perhaps almost impossible to translate these words in English. So let us use these Sanskrit words: Shrauta yajna, Shrauta sacrifice, and Smarta yajna or Smarta sacrifice. The sacrifices that are prescribed in the Brahmana part of the Vedas are called Shrauta sacrifices. So Shrauta sacrifices come from the Brahmana part of the Vedas. The sacrifices that are prescribed in Griha Sutra are called Smartha sacrifices. So Smartha sacrifices, Smartha yajnas come from the Griha Sutra part of the Vedic, Vedic concordance. The sacrificial fire, the yajna, is of three types, three kinds. First, Ahavaniya yajna. Second, Gahrapatya yajna. And the third is Dakshinagni yajna. These are three kinds of sacrifices. These three kinds of sacrificial fire are known as Treta. This is the name of the Agni, the fire that one finds in these three kinds of yajnas. The person who receives this Treta sacrificial fire following the Vedic methods becomes eligible for performing Shrauta sacrifice. So this is the eligibility of performing a Shrauta sacrifice. A person who, on the other hand, receives the sacrificial fire following the Griha Sutra becomes eligible for Smartha sacrifice, but not for Shrauta sacrifice. In performance of Shrauta sacrifice, Yajur, Rig, and Sama have utility, have their role to play. But Atharva Veda does not play any role. But in constructing the sacrificial altar, the Vedi, Yajna Vedi, the site of sacrificial fire, Atharva Veda does have utility. Atharva Veda there does have a role to play. Construction of the sacrificial altar, the seat of the Ritvik, etc., are known as Vihara. Before constructing the Vihara, one has to perform various peace-ensuring rituals, Shanti Karma, so that the sacrifices could be performed till the end without any hindrance. Atharva Veda provides us with all these much needed peace-ensuring rituals, Shanti Karma. Thus, we see the relevance of Atharva Veda even before the sacrifice starts. Hence, Patanjali has mentioned the example of Vedic words from Atharva Veda first. So this is a kind of justification of Patanjali's, change the mentioning of the, of the four Vedas, the order of the four Vedas. Hence, Patanjali has mentioned the example of Vedic words from Atharva Veda first. The sacrificial duties of an Adhvaryu have been mentioned in Yajur Veda. He who initiates the performer of the sacrifice, Yajamana, into performing the sacrifice is called Adhvaryu. This initiation act of the Adhvaryu is of crucial importance in the sacrifice. And the duties of Adhvaryu have been mentioned in the Yajur Veda. Also, the daily sacrifices like Agnihotra, etc., can be performed by using the mantras from Yajur Veda. So after Atharva Veda, Patanjali mentions examples from Yajur Veda. In many sacrifices like Darsha Purnamasa, etc., alongside the duties of Adhvaryu, certain kinds of rites called Hotra rites have been prescribed. It is the Rig Veda that provides us with these Hotra rites. Hence, after Atharva Veda and Yajur Veda, Patanjali mentions examples from Rig Veda. In some other sacrifices, like Agnishtoma, Jyotishtoma, alongside the rites of Adharju and Hotra, Audagatra rites have been prescribed. And Samaveda provides us with these Audagatra rites. So Patanjali, after mentioning Rig Veda, has mentioned examples from Samaveda. So this explains why Patanjali, ignoring the traditionally accepted order of the mention of the Vedas, mentions example from the Vedas in a different order. Just as a passing comment, let me mention that there is a debate as to whether Atharva Veda is to be regarded as a Veda, whether one can accept the Pramanya of Atharva Veda. Kumarila Bhatta, the Mimamsaka philosopher, rejects Atharva Veda as a part of the Vedic literature. Though later, Jayanta Bhatta, the Nayayika, refutes Kumarila Bhatta's arguments. It is, however, evident from Patanjali's allusion to the example from Atharva Veda that Patanjali regards Atharva Veda as a part of the Vedas. Now we come to the most crucial question. What is a word? Kashabdaha. What is the nature of word? Taking an example of an ordinary word, Patanjali asks the nature of the meaning of cow, for example. Gau iti kashabdaha. If you take an example of cow, what is the nature of the word? Patanjali comes up with several possible answers and refutes each of them. And what are these possible answers, and how does Patanjali refute these alternatives? Once we think of the situation in detail, we see that even the meaning as meaning does not get itself manifest in a clear way. The animal cow is a substance, is a dravya, and so in it reside quality, guna, and action, kriya, and the universal, jati. In order to have the knowledge of the substance, one has to have the knowledge of the color in it and the universal residing in that substance. Without knowing all these, one cannot have the knowledge of the substance, the dravya. Patanjali holds that when one knows the substance, following the knowledge of the word, one also possesses the knowledge of the quality, etc., that reside in the substance. According to the grammarians, when one acquires the knowledge of the substance, one also gains the knowledge of the word itself, where the word is what that refers. In answer to the question, what is the nature of word? One could say, this is one possible answer. One could say that the thing or the animal having hump, horn, etc. is the word cow. This is one possible answer. Patanjali rejects this answer by arguing that the animal having hump, horns, etc. is the substance which is not to be confused with the word. It seems to me that Patanjali wants to drive the point home that the realm of the word and the realm of the substance, dravya, to which the word refers are different. A word is a linguistic entity. A word is formed and ruled by a set of linguistic rules. Grammar applies to words. Natural science applies to substances. Natural laws applies to substances. So treating the animal having hump, horns, etc., as the nature of the word cow is tantamount to changing the subject matter of grammar. But then grammar would be dealing with the substances, dravyas, and not with words. So this is how Patanjali rejects the first answer to the question, what is the nature of word? So dravya cannot be regarded as the nature of the word. The second possible answer regarding the nature of word is that the nature of a word lies in the bodily movements done to express the intention of the speaker, like twinkling of the eyes, etc., or moving one's hands, etc., as I am doing now. The idea is that various bodily gestures accompany the utterance of words, and the essence of the word lies in those accompanying bodily movements. If this is one possible answer, Patanjali criticizes this view by arguing that the bodily movements are to be regarded as actions. They are kriya. These gestures, the bodily gestures, vary from one person to person, from time to time, and from society to society. The nature of the word is different from these gestures. Even though the bodily movements always happen to accompany the utterance of the words, the bodily gestures are not to be identified as the nature of the word itself. The third possible answer to the question, what is the nature of word, is one might again argue that the nature of the word cow, for example, lies in the colors like white, brown, black, etc. When one utters the word cow, one always thinks of either a white cow or a brown cow or a black cow, etc. So the thought runs that the essence of the word cow lies in these colors. Patanjali rejects this answer by suggesting that these are qualities. These qualities reside in the substance. It is true that whenever we think of a cow, we think of either a white or a brown or a black cow, but the nature of the word cow resides in the word and not in the substance. Grammar deals with word and not with substance. The qualities like white, etc., are qualities of substance and not of the word. Even if the word is a quality, it is known through the auditory sense organ, while qualities like white, etc., are grasped through the visual sense organ. So the nature of the word cannot lie in qualities like white, etc. The underlying principle that Patanjali seems to rely on is that if two things are known through different sense organs, then the nature of the one cannot be identical with the nature of the other. Accepting this principle, one could similarly argue that even if the word is treated as a substance, it is different from the animal having hump, horn, etc. For while the word is known through the auditory sense organ, the animal having hump, horn, etc. is known through the visual sense organ. The fourth and the last possible answer to the question, what is the nature of the word, that Patanjali talks about, is this. The last possible answer to the query about the nature of word that Patanjali mentions is that the nature of word is that which is shared by all the different cows, which is not destroyed by the destruction of one individual cow, which is present, which is universally present in all the cows. It is undeniable then that when in different instances we use the word cow, there is some commonality that explains our using the same word cow in various cases. And this commonality is not dependent for its existence on the existence of individual cows. This common feature in the grammarian literature is called Samanya Bhuta. Patanjali, however, rejects this answer as well. The common universal cowness, according to Patanjali, is nothing but akriti. Akriti means ordered parts. Avayava sangsthana. Akriti refers to the particular way the parts are organized or staying together. Patanjali's argument seems to be that the reason why we use the word cow in very many instances is that we perceive the same orderly parts in all those instances. This universal cowness is present in all the different cows simply because all the different cows exemplify the same arrangement of parts, akriti. This arrangement of parts or akriti lies in the realm of substance and has nothing to do with the word itself. An explanation of the nature of the word cannot be reduced to an explanation of the ordered parts of the corresponding substance. The order in which, now you see, what is noteworthy is the order in which Patanjali refutes several possible answers with regard to the query about the nature of the word is worth noting. First, he refutes the attempt to explain the nature of the word in terms of substance, dravya, and then in terms of the action, kriya, then in terms of quality, guna, and at last, universal, samanya. There is a justification behind this order in refuting the allegedly wrong views. Substance is the substratum of action, quality, and universal. Substance in this sense is primary compared to universal, etc. So first comes the refutation of explaining the word in terms of substance. Action, for example, bodily gestures, produce qualities in the substance. And so in the second place, Patanjali examines the view that the nature of the word is action. Then comes the third alternative, namely the nature of the word nature of the word is explained in terms of quality. Last comes the question of universal, because universal resides in substance, action, and quality. After talking about the substratum of universal, Patanjali critically examines the question of universal at last. So there is a justification behind this particular order of refutation of the alternate views about the nature of word. After refuting all the wrong views about the nature of word, Patanjali proposes his positive thesis, saying that the nature of the word, for example, cow, is that by uttering which, yena ucharitena shabdena, is that by uttering which one has the knowledge of the animal having hump horn, etc. Simplistically taken, this definition could mean that the letters are where the nature of the word lies, varna, for it is the letter that we utter. But this is not what the grammarian view is. This is why later on, Kayata, now the grammarian, understands the expression uttering which, yena ucharitena, this is Patanjali's expression, uttering which. How could one explain this expression? As which manifests. Yena prakashitena. And manifests here means becomes known, becomes the object of knowledge. Thus, gets manifest, yena prakashitena, becomes the object of knowledge. So, Patanjali's expression, uttering which, yena ucharitena, could be understood as being the object of knowledge. The grammarians regard the word pada or sentence, vakya, which is different from the letter, as the referring expression, vachaka. If the letter was identical with the word, then the very first letter in a word would produce the knowledge of the meaning. And the following letters in the word would become redundant. All the letters, on the other hand, could not be produced at a time, could not be uttered at a time. Letters are uttered sequentially. And so the letters cannot be present at the same time, failing to produce the knowledge of meaning. The letters are uttered sequentially and they are stored in memory, giving rise to the knowledge of meaning. This is why grammarians hold that sphota, which is manifest through the nada or dhvani, that is different from letter, varna, is where the nature of the word lies. So the nature of the word lies in sphota. This sphota is something that refers to the word. Nagesha, a later day grammarian, explains utterance, ucharana, as when the air rises above from the muladhara, the lowest part of the spinal cord, and gets in contact with the vocal parts, expressing the sphota. So, understood in this way, the nature of the word lies in that the manifestation of which produces the knowledge of the animal having hump, horn, etc. If we take the example of cow. The uniqueness of the grammarian position lies in their proposing the theory of sphota. It is the sphota that produces the knowledge of the word. Now, as we all know that lots have been spoken, written, discussed about this idea of sphota. The etymological meaning of the word sphota is that which manifests. Sputati, it is sphota, or uncovers. Once we analyze the word sphota, we see that this is not a yogika word. Rather, it is a yoga rudha word. A yogika word is that where the meaning of the word is explained in terms of the stem and the suffix, the prakriti and the pratyaya. The meaning of the words pachaka, for example, can be explained in terms of the meaning of the stem, pach, to cook, and the meaning of the suffix, ghan, in grammarian terminology, performer of the action. In the case of a yogarudha word, the meaning of the word is something more than the meanings of the elements that constitute the word. There is something extra in so far as the meaning of the yogarudha word is concerned. Pankaja, for example, simply does not mean that which is born in mud, in panka. But the word stands only for lotus and not anything and everything that is born in mud. That is, pankaja. Similarly, the word spota does not mean anything and everything that manifests. It only stands for that which manifests meaning. So, spota in this analysis is an example of a yoga ruda word like pankaja. In the grammarian literature, we find 8 kinds of spota being mentioned. Varna spota, pada spota, vakya spota, akhanda spota, akhanda vakya spota, varna jati spota, pada jati spota, and vakya jati spota. Should I stop here for explaining or answering some questions, Lisa?
Absolutely. We do have some burning questions, and if we
Okay.
could pause,
Okay.
and we'll hopefully be able to continue the conversation in the future as well. But the first question actually comes from Professor Arindam Chakraborty. We're going out of order, but I'd like to ask him to unmute and pose his questions.
Okay. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my first question is that apart from the semantic and syntactic rules and following them, if we follow them, that gives us dharma, etc. Rigveda 1071, which is about speech, although it's called Jnana Suktam, it also mentions a very interesting feature which is connected to my other 2 questions. And you know this because Mahabhashya quotes this also, which is that with speech, people sift out, like sifting barley, saktumiva titauna punanto, and atra sakhaya sakhyani janate, bhadraisham lakshmir nihitadivachi. So it says that it is in speech that friends find their friendship, and thus their Lakshmi, whatever that means, is found nihita. It is ingrained in their speech. So I know that you know a lot about this. That's why I wanted to talk about that in your whole lecture, the interpersonal friendship aspect of speech, which is emphasized in Rig Veda. My first question was, I'll ask them just together, and just remember, atra sakhaya sakhyani janate. What does speech have to do not only with following rules, but to find their friendships, which will actually manifest their own Lakshmi. So that's the first question. And the second question is very straightforward. These are very deep questions. You will have to, but you have to be succinct to answer them. I have to go also. That are the rules of, like Shabdanushasanam, you're calling them laws. I mean, you and I would call them, following Wittgenstein, rules. So semantic rules and syntactic rules, Anushasanam, are they normative or descriptive? That's a simple question, okay? Like when we say that the word cow, it's a lexical rule now, semantic rule. The word cow, the word go means speech or light or the earth, all 3. It means in actual use it means, or somebody is dictating, Panini or somebody or Yaska is dictating that by hereby my order, this word asmat padat ayamartho bodhavya, which is a normative. So that's my second question. Are rules, semantic rules, and even syntactic rules, are they normative or descriptive? And my last question is again going back to Devi Suktam. By the way, the audience may not know because outside of Bengal, Durga Saptashati is not referred to as Chandi. So it's only our tradition to call it Chandi. So I think in future you should always say Durga Saptashati, that everybody understands, a part of Markandeya Puran. Now, last question is more suggestive, and you don't have to actually answer that. But Devi Sukta also says the most mysterious thing, where speech in the first person says, I have given birth to my father. Aham sube pitaram asya murdhan. And then she says, Mama Yoni, like you refer to the very, very ancient idea that Vak is produced by Marut, okay, which actually can be interpreted in a yogic way, that it's by the prana shakti. Instead of the sound of storms, we could mean by that is that the Marut inside the Nabhi, and that's how Nagesh and others interpret it. That Vayu creates the speech, Vaikari speech. But here she says, Mama Yonir Apsu, Anta Samudre, inside the ocean. And so, what is the meaning of Vak, origin of Vak being, what could be suggested? There's no definitive answer, by the origin of speech being in the waters and inside the ocean. So that was my third question. Thank you.
Lisa, can I say something now?
Please do.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, I was not aware of this Rig Veda part where the Sukta talks about friendship and
Right.
Lakshmi. Okay, in a very general way, one could argue that speech or a science of speech, okay, could lead to Chaturvarga, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Okay, and in a later day, text of Madhusudana Saraswati in Prasthana Veda, he talks about the different prasthanas. Okay, and he argues that all these prasthanas, directly or indirectly, somehow lead to Chaturvarga. So if we can, talk about having a science of speech, that science of speech also could be said to contribute to these four values, Chaturvarga. And of course, in some sense, friendship, attainment of Lakshmi, etc., could be included under that broader scheme of Chaturvarga. I mean, this is one just offhand I can think of. This is how one could interpret this. And about the second question, the laws. Of course, this is the question that I have also raised towards the end of this presentation, because I was thinking of Frege's analysis of two kinds of laws in his paper, in his discussion on thoughts. Okay, now my hunch is, insofar as Patanjali is concerned, this question itself, whether these laws, anushasanas, whether they are prescriptive in nature or descriptive, this question itself, is misleading, because Patanjali as examples gives refers to many of the standard accepted uses of classical Vedic Sanskrit. So they are definitely descriptive of the linguistic use of those days. But at the same time, since all of these people, all of these grammarians, talk about Vyakarana as leading to moksha, directly or indirectly, so these Anushasanas of Vyakarana could also be thought of as being prescriptive in nature. So this binary of descriptive, prescriptive or normative, I'm not sure how far this binary could be applied to Patanjali's presentation of his theory of word. And about Devi Sukta, there are many sentences in that sukta which are very very suggestive, very symbolic and amenable to many interpretations, I'm sure. But one general spirit that I find in Devi Sukta is that, especially when you mention that the Vak is claiming that she has given birth to father, etc., etc. I think the very attempt on our part, on human part, to recognize somebody in some relation also requires our ability to use language. So without Vak, the entire world is dark to me. I can't make any sense of anything. So who is my father? Who is my mother? Etc. etc. All these questions require a prior knowledge or understanding of Vak. And so in that sense, Vak is claiming that she is the original, the primal source of this entire creation, including all the familial relationships, etc., etc.
Thank you so much. It was encyclopedic. I just wanted you to notice that your answer to the third question actually answers my first question in a much deeper way, because without words, we cannot communicate. We cannot address people. We cannot say sakhe. And therefore, friendships are possible only through communication. And communication is possible only through speech. So therefore, the answer that you gave at the end, that it is through words that you recognize relationship. And what is the primary relationship apart from parent-child is the relationship between friend and friend. So atra sakhaya sakhyani janate is the same thing. And since you have worked on Davidson's work on communication and convention, I thought all my questions will be about those two things. Thank you so much. I have to leave now.
Okay. Thank you very much.
So I'd actually like to call on Ines to ask another question. We have
Yes.
a few here.
Yes, please.
Namaskaram. Thank you very much for your discourse. I have a question related with Yoga Sutras. In chapter 3, Sutra 17 of Yoga Sutras, Patanjali mentions samyama on Shabda Artha Pratyayanam as a way of acquiring knowledge of the speech of all creatures. Relating to Western philosophy, this seems to me that the samyama would break a symbolic barrier that all humans should have covering this portal. Here, I am following the reason of a philosopher called Ernest Cassirer about symbolic forms. My question is, how could we explain the symbolic barrier breaking in Western philosophy terms? If this reasoning is correct, the samyama on Shabda, Artha, and Pratyaya is really breaking a symbolic barrier? And if yes, how could we explain this uncovering of this cover that is over Sporta? How could we explain this using Western terms?
Let me just try to explain as I understand your query. This sangyama of Shabda, etc., that you refer to while talking about Yoga Sutra. I think one can allude to Bhartrihari in this context. Shabda for later grammarians, especially Bhartrihari, Shabda does not only refer to the uttered speech. Okay, when he talks about Shabda Tattva, when he talks about Shabda Tattva, which is eternal, yet Aksharam, which is eternal. So how could one make sense of our ordinary use of words in our interpersonal communication, interpersonal understanding, and from that interpersonal understanding of Shabda, how could one be led to Shabda Tattva, Shabda as the ultimate stuff of the world? And we all know that Bhartrihari and also many other grammarians talk about these Vaikhari, Madhyama, Pashyanti, etc. Okay, so when I think one possible way of understanding this sangyama of Shabda is to participate in a discipline that will make us realize that one could move from the physicalistic setup of Shabda in this spatio-temporal world to facilitate interpersonal understanding and communication to a different level of Shabda Tattva, where Shabda could be regarded as the ultimate reality, and which actually knowledge of that Shabda would lead to moksha, etc. So Shabda Sangyama, sometimes even Bhartrihari uses the word Shabda Yoga. So Sangyama of Shabda is actually, insofar as my understanding goes, is an allusion to this attempt to move from the gross physicalistic word to what these people call as Shabda Tattva.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to call on Swasti Banerjee to ask his question. See, I just lost.
Sir, my question is very basic. Because you were talking about that the Vaiyakarana's do claim that having the knowledge of grammar gives them liberation. I just wanted to know about the nature of the liberation. Moksha, what is the nature of liberation according to Vaiyakarana? That's what.
This is very difficult question. I mean, as traditional Advaita Vedanta talks about the realization of the unity of the individual self and the ultimate Paramatma self, a Brahman. Similarly, especially Bhartrihari and his followers talk about the realization of the Shabda Brahman, okay, as of the nature of liberation. So when you come to realize that Shabda in some significant sense is of the nature of entire world, and knowledge of the varieties of the objects in the world ceases to exist, okay, that then and then alone one can claim to attain liberation. So all these multiplicities that we encounter in the world will vanish once the knowledge of that single akhanda eternal Shabda Brahman arises.
Wow.
Thank you.
Beautiful. So I have one question that C. Schreiner would like for me to read out. They say you spoke about the differences between the nature of word and substance. Can you speak as to whether there existed practices of embodying speech in these early Vedic grammatical systems? Is speech something that exists within, or can it be brought down to the level of the embodied individual? Or is it to be understood as transcendent? In other words, does one carry speech within them? Or should we understand it as passing through them? I'm specifically thinking in terms of practices such as nyasa, in which speech is mapped upon the body itself. To what extent were speech and the body to be integrated in the process of learning, perfecting grammar as the laws of the world?
Yeah, insofar as my understanding is concerned, I mean, Patanjali was responding to this view that the nature of the word is of the substance. Okay, so if we take his example of cow, the word cow, okay, the nature of the word cow, according to some, could be the animal itself, the animal in the world itself. Now, I think Patanjali is trying to argue that when we talk about word, when we talk about nature of the word, when we talk about the rules or laws governing the nature of the word, we are talking at a linguistic level. But when we are talking about the animal in the world, when we're talking about the substance, dravya in the world, that belongs to a different level of discussion. Okay, so if we are after the nature of the word, we cannot be governed by the laws or rules, okay, of a substance that is in the world. So and also he also takes recourse to this point that the way we know a word and the way we know a substance, okay, are different. Different sense organs are responsible for knowledge of these two different things. So Patanjali, actually tries to convince us that none of these attempts to explain the nature of the world, okay, actually succeeds. So if we are interested in explaining the nature of the world, we have to confine ourselves to the laws governing the world, to the several aspects of the constitution of a word, etc., etc., and that is what grammar is concerned with.
Dr. Jayanti, so who would you like to ask?
Pranam, sir. Thank
Yeah.
you for a wonderful lecture. It was highly insightful, but some clarification since I'm a teacher of philosophy. So when we teach Indian philosophy, especially, so certain things comes to our mind, like as you have rightly pointed out, many things about the Patanjali Yoga Sutra you have pointed out, but still I have a query. When we talk about the higher knowledge, basically search for the absolute reality, do you think that their grammar works or the meaning of the words are important? Because often when we talk about grammarian traditions, Panini, Bhattacharya, these people, but Sankaracharya, as I have read somewhere in the Bhajagovindam, he had given secondary importance to the grammar. And even also when we talk about the Praman Vyavastha, like the means of knowledge, except Sabda Praman, my knowledge is limited. I just wanted to know from you that except Sabda Praman, other Pramanas, they don't talk about much about the grammar, though they talk about the meaning of the words are important, but the grammar part is something missing, except Nayayikas and Vaisesik and yoga also I hardly found any grammar they do give importance. So that's my query. But thank you so much for the wonderful lecture Vimarsha Foundation has organized. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, just two small clarifications. Today I have confined myself to the metaphysical aspect of Shabda Tattva, and as you mentioned that there is a long debate among different classical Indian philosophical schools about the nature of Shabda Pramana, whether Shabda Pramana could be accepted as an independent Pramana or not, etc., etc. I have not dealt with that aspect in this talk today. And about this Shankaracharya's comment in Bhaja Govindam that Prapte Sannihite Khalu Marane Nahi Nahi Rakshati Dukring Karane. Dukring is one of the sutras of Panini. So yeah, apparently it seems that he is giving a secondary importance to Vyakarana. But as far as Patanjali is concerned, and the entire grammarian tradition is concerned, not only Patanjali, Patanjali emphasizes this again and again in his introduction to Mahabhashya, which is known as Paspasha, that one of the important prayojanas of of Vyakarana is Veda Raksha. Veda Raksha. So proper understanding of Vedas and proper performance of the Vedic rituals leading to higher goal is, one of the primary objectives of Vyakarana. Okay. So Vyakarana, although although directly talks about Shabdanushasana, Shabda is the immediate subject matter of Vyakarana, but this Vyakarana through Shabdanushasana, facilitates our understanding of the Vedas, facilitates our performance of the Vedic rituals, leading to moksha. So the indirect, prayojana of Veda, of Vyakarana is also moksha. So that is why, Bhartrihari very explicitly mentions that, Vyakarana is the door, apavarga dwara, is the door to apavarga. So this is why, all these grammarians talk about the prayojana of Vyakarana.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
I'd like to ask Pale Ray to ask her question. Pale?
Am I audible?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So as you were saying that knowledge of words and epistemology of leads to pleasure and liberation, I just want to know the mode and the nature of this pleasure. Is this pleasure related to the ananda of rasa that Abhinavagupta has so pertinently and so so well discussed? This is my question.
Yeah, I really confess that I don't know much about Abhinavagupta, so I can't really compare. But definitely in many places in Vakapadiya, Bhartrihari talks about the the nature of the ananda, okay, the bliss, so to say, arising out of this knowledge of Shabda Tattva, Shabda Brahman. But my hunch is that will be very, very close to Abhinavagupta's analysis also. But I really confess I don't, I can't really comment on that.
Thank you so much. But is the process also the same, like how rasa is generated? This ananda is also generated in the same way?
Same way means, I mean, for the grammarians and for especially, if you talk about Bhartrihari, this from the journey from Vaikhari through Madhyama to Pashyanti. Some grammarians also talk about Paravak. Okay, this journey itself is a journey, from this worldly, understanding of the gross shabda to a more subtle one.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'd really love to revisit this lecture again and again. Thank you. It was very nice. Thank you so much.
Professor Nirmalya Chakraborty, we're so pleased and honored to have you with us. We're running out of time now. And
Yes.
I want, if you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with us, that's wonderful. Otherwise, I'd like to ask Professor Timosina to close this out.
No, I just, I want to share my future plan along this line. Since I was a student of analytic philosophy, so I thought that it might be a good idea to explore some of the ideas from a contemporary philosopher called Frege, okay, with some of the ideas of Patanjali that I have tried to formulate today. So my future plan is, maybe I will share that with you people later on. My future plan is to have a kind of dialogue, an imaginary dialogue of Patanjali's theory of meaning and Frege's theory of meaning. So that might be a good take home from this discussion today.
Good paper in the anthology. Thank you. Professor Timosina.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Vagartha viva sampriktau Vagartha pratipattaye Jagataha pitarau vande पार्वती परमेश्वरौ अनादिनिधनं ब्रह्म शब्दतत्त्वं यदक्षरं विवर्ततेऽर्थभावेन प्रक्रिया जगतो यतः